is a new department, created by legislation recently, so some of the people moved over there from revenue. But as the private manager expands their operations, which they certainly intend to do and are required to do under their contract, it also requires some additional expansion of headcount in the Department of Lottery to work in coordination with the private manager.
Dave, does this figure up here include whatever the governor will propose in closing tax loopholes tomorrow?
No, this is existing revenues only from existing law.
Jack, or Dave, Julie Hamos testified that they're using 30-year-old computers. Other agencies have old computers. When you're talking about Medicaid, and I've had other people send me information saying how much fraud goes on because the system doesn't have any kind of tight accountability. You can go in with one check stub and say, based upon this one payroll check stub, I qualify. Are you going to be proposing tightening up the requirements to prove eligibility, one, and two, putting any new money into computers so that ideally with better computer systems you could maybe find more fraud within the system?
Well, we will be tightening eligibility. That's part of the law that passed last January. We had to work with the federal government on a plan amendment, I think that's right, Jerry, and to be able to electronically, through other sources we have, Secretary of State, whatever, to verify people's addresses, things like that. Federal government initially said no. We finally, a couple weeks ago, Director Hamos wrote the federal government a letter and said, sorry, we're moving forward anyways, because we believe that it's that important to do and to find out and verify eligibility. So we will be doing that, we are doing that, and will be doing that, and continue to do that. I think all these people that say there's rampant fraud in this, I don't think that's ever been proven, but we do want to look at eligibility and verify eligibility and do a number of the other things that were listed up there in the PowerPoint in order to get control of the spending in Medicaid.
The Medicaid changes that you listed, cracking down on fraud and better managed care and so forth, sound like a lot of the things that Republicans have been saying for years. Is this, to some degree, acknowledging that more should have been done in that direction years ago?
Well, let's be real. Let's be real. A year ago, we looked at all the options to cut Medicaid. We put rate reductions out there. And what did the Republicans do? They backed away from the table. We also put a bunch of options out there, and they went through all the options. And what did they come up with? $47 million of savings when you have a $2.7 billion problem. So we all need to sit down at the table. We know when this happens, all the advocates are going to be there saying, don't cut me, don't cut this, don't cut that. They're going to be out there on the rail, talking on the rail. We need everybody to sit down and have a real look at what we're spending here and what we need to get in control. It's Republicans, it's Democrats, it's everybody working together. And not talking about it, but sitting down at the table and really doing it. And that's what we have now. We have a working group, representatives of each caucus, looking at all these things and trying to come up with a solution that then that framework will be used for legislation for the General Assembly to approve.
Basically, what I was asked to know is, should this have been done ideally 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or is something changed?
We tried to do it last spring. The governor proposed in his budget a 6% rate reduction, and the General Assembly said no, including Republicans. So now we're a year later. The problem is not 1.9 billion, it's 2.7 billion. So we need to sit down and work this out and stop the out of control spending in this area by restructuring, focusing on wellness, and looking at rooting out any fraud and abuse that's going on.
Jack, can I ask just one question?
Charles.
Before I leave, you have your $33,777 million as your projected expenditure for fiscal 13. What was that number for fiscal 12?
$33,727,000,000.
So it's actually higher this year? 33,727,000,000?
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, remember, that's the budget that includes pensions, the transfers out, the debt payments, the amount that we have discretion over, which are all the agency budgets, that expenditure is going down year over year. That's the slide that we have up here right now.
The governor has proposed increasing the funding for the MAP grant by $50 million. So looking at the numbers for the Student Assistance Commission, it seems that $50 million is going away from federal funds. So it seems that the only really increase in the Student Assistance Commission is only $10,000.
The MAP program is not a federal fund program. It's 100% state funded through GRF. So the MAP change is reflected purely in the GRF part of that budget. ISAC does a lot of other things that relate to federal funds and recovery of student loans, and that shouldn't be confused with the MAP program.
Republicans have criticized that.
What?
So I guess $50 million then is going all the way to the MAP grant then?
That's correct, yeah. And that's all general revenue fund money. That's a general revenue fund scholarship program, 100%.
So what is it not going to? That $50 million coming from federal funds?
No, all the increase in the MAP program is in GRF.
He's saying ISAC covers more than MAP. They do other programs that include a lot of things. For the MAP funding, it's going up $50 million.
Can you guys address, again, with the prison closures, can you ensure that neither public safety is going to be threatened, nor the safety of the guards and the other prisons who have to accommodate hyper-violent and
We will not jeopardize public safety. That's our number one concern. And so we will work closely with corrections, and they worked closely with us on putting this budget together to make sure that public safety concerns are addressed on these closures.
Jack, the Republicans have criticized this slide saying, well, these aren't the real numbers because they don't include pensions. And their point regarding pensions is, yes, you can control pension costs because you borrowed money and took that off the books. What would you respond? How would you respond to that?
Well, I think we're rehashing old arguments. We did borrow money, but pension is an obligation of the state, whether you borrow money to pay for it or you pay it through the ramp and through what is. It's an obligation of the state. It's a debt of the state. 1 year we did borrow to pay it, but that's a hard debt versus a soft debt. It's the same thing.
Let me add something, Jack. Civic Federation said this was a real number, so just reread the report if you need to. It's in there. This is the spending we control. These are real numbers.